it's hard to even break down because they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like, I don't think you're asking a lot for Laramie Tunsil to not have a bunch of false starts.
Well, he didn't have any false starts last week.
That's true. But
he did have 2 holds.
Kenyon Green, not asking a lot to not have those illegal formations and false starts that he was having.
Illegal man downfield.
And we'll see what happens this week. They just put out the injury report just now. The only players officially out this weekend are Derek Barnett, Joe Mixon, Jerry Hughes. But Titus Howard did not practice today. So Blake Fisher might be your right tackle. What's interesting about that is when the Texans offensive line turned a corner last year, Paul Gallant, when Titus Howard left the starting offensive line. Not that Blake Fisher is George Fant, but something I've got my eye on is if they look any better without Titus out there.
Did you think they looked better without Titus out there?
I mean, the numbers say they were better.
Okay, that's fair. I never know anything about the trenches. This is not me questioning what you're saying. It was so bad all of last year.
Yeah.
It should not be this bad this year. And losing Titus Howard theoretically makes you worse. You're not moving him into guard. I know when he stopped playing right tackle, that wasn't great, but they like him at guard for whatever reason. They do have to clean it up, though. And okay, the Bills are also not 100%, but what's really been interesting has been hearing all of the Texans players and coaches talking about the offensive line this week. And Sean, sorry to throw this at you last minute. We are here at D1 training in the Woodlands. This is first CJ Stroud talking about how the Texans offensive line has been improving this year.
Sometimes it may not look like that because you're getting 1 or 2 yard runs, but we're really close, So I'm just super proud of those guys for not, because they've been, criticized, and even we like our coaches even coached them probably the hardest out of they coach everybody, and they've done nothing but just look themselves in the eye and look themselves in the mirror, and just come up to work every day and work. And they're the reason why we win games, and that's point blank period. So
point blank period. That's a reason we win games. It's interesting because it does feel, Joe, like they're trying to tell us something is happening, and it's very hard for the average fan, or even for someone who's a football diehard like myself, to see that the offensive line is improving. But given all the penalties and given the fact that they can't run the ball, I'm having a hard time believing Stroud when he says that.
Yeah, the running the ball is where it's like, that's where I think it's not a shot. It's not totally fair to Cam Akers because we all have low expectations for them. Him being the 3rd running back on this team, maybe the 4th running back. I'm not even sure he's the main guy getting the ball this weekend. If Mixon, we know Mixon's out, but I don't know if Pierce is out as well. So it's like hard to say. Like, you can say they're getting better, but Cam Akers is the guy running the ball. So you're not going to see that come into fruition most likely because he's just not good enough. Like, he's just not going to find the gaps. We've seen that when he's had moments when it's clear that Cam Akers has a moment to break out, he's not doing so. He's not capable of doing that. So I guess we take their word for it at this point. But the penalties. You can be better, yes. But when you're constantly hurting your team, it doesn't matter if for 80% of the game you're a better offensive line. If you've got a 3rd and 2, and then you get a false start, and then you get sacked on the next play, like that has happened in week 1, week 3, week 4, where you are putting yourselves in negative positions, that's the problem with the offensive line. The problems are compounding. They're not happening randomly. They're being followed up one after another, and putting the Texans and CJ Stroud in these impossible or very challenging positions. So they can say that all they want, but
they did say it all they wanted, because here's DeMeco Ryans talking about how the offensive line is also better.
It's been, up and down. It hasn't been, all good, and that's part of the season, right? It's part of that first month of the season. You're finding your way, and you're not playing your best ball when you first start, but it's a matter of getting better throughout the season. And that game last week versus the Jags, I saw our O-line take a tremendous step toward getting better. Great job with the protections, giving CJ time to make those plays down the field of Nico. So I see progression. I see our offensive line getting better.
So DeMeco said it. You want to hear who else thinks it's getting better?
Bobby Slowik?
Yeah, here's
Okay.
Bobby Slowik talking about how the run protection has improved and the offensive line at the same time.
It's taken longer than we all would have wanted to get back to what we want to do across the board. And then once that's rolling, which it's starting to get there, and then everybody's seeing it the same way. The back seeing the same spot that he has to hit, the O-line really seeing the same crease that we want to get to. And that takes time. We got to we'll run out of time, but we got to get to a point where everybody's seeing it the same way pretty fast. And that's what we mean when we say close. It's showing up more now than it has in the last couple of weeks.
Okay, so where I'll hear him out on that is that because they don't participate, all of them, in training camp.
Laramie Tunsil.
Because none of them play besides Kenyon Green and Drew Scruggs and Jarrett Patterson.
You're right, Shaq.
In preseason games.
Shaq Mason and Titus Howard didn't either.
So they don't play a lot in training camp. They don't do anything in OTAs. They don't do preseason football. And now you come in and you're at full speed. And even though it's the same offense and it's the exact same offensive line, except for at left guard Kenyon Green, instead of Titus Howard there, he's back to his traditional right tackle position. That's where in the NFL right now, the offense is mostly poor. Like last night, you have to say is the exception to the rule. Touchdowns are down across the league. Penalties are up. Defensive efficiency, DVOA is up across the league right now through 4 weeks. So that's where I'll give them a little bit of a pass. But I think I'm done with it. We're going to week 5. You break it. Everyone breaks the NFL season into quarters. We're a quarter of the way through the season. So if those improvements at some point, you have to either just admit who you are, or the improvements have to actually show up on the field. And I kind of feel like we're now at the point where you're going to be playing the Buffalo Bills without Ed Oliver and without Von Miller. And this is a week where some of those improvements should shine. There's other talent there, but they're two best guys.
They do not get an excuse for this slow start because every other team is dealing with the same exact issue. This is not just a Texans problem. Every team, every offensive line is generally coming into the year. They're operating behind the 8 ball because training camp, you can't really get a true gauge for game action in the trenches. And then on top of that, you're not playing the preseason games either. So everyone's rusty at first. But you've been rustiest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And cool, it's getting better. I'm glad at the very least Bobby Slowik said, well, we're running out of time. Yeah, you are. We're a month into the year. We're a quarter of the way into the season as of Sunday.
Especially when, it's funny, looking here at D1 training and the words up on the wall, and the one that I just keep looking at is accountability. And it's right in front of us. And the offensive line just doesn't take any. The penalties, it's they can talk about it all they want, but you can't have that many penalties. And they
responded to it very poorly after the Vikings game.
I mean, they're deleting their Twitter accounts.
And you didn't hear from Laramie Tunsil after the game on Sunday, after 2 holds. I did see him demonstratively talking with DJ. Very curious what that conversation was all about, but we couldn't talk with them for whatever reason, which is annoying to me, but hey, whatever. Anyway. Look, they got to figure it out. No one's ever going to take them seriously until they start winning games against real teams. Put on your big boy pants. I don't know if they're skinny jeans. I don't know if they're what are the big ones with the bell bottoms. I don't know if they're Jinkos.
Right now,
I don't know if they're Paul Gallant short shorts or capris.
I think they're jeans that are probably a size too small.
Oh.
So they're having to do that thing where they're having to trying to suck it in to get them on.
Nothing
so they can't
worse.
Quite get their big boy pants on.
Nothing worse.
Yeah.
One of my I have this awesome pair of pink linen pants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I can rock pink linen
pants. And then they don't fit anymore.
I'm sucking. I got a lot of muffin top with those. They're definitely 2 sizes too small. Still fits. Not great.
But it's it's a.
I used to be skinnier. What can I say? I'm a little heavy right now. I have a negative body image. Cut me some slack. Anyway,